The moment I see her car pull into the driveway, my heart pounds with a strange mix of exhilaration and anger. It's been weeks of planning, days of preparation, and now the trap is set. I'm not staying here for this confrontation, I'm long gone. Through the peephole of the front door, I watch her get out of the car. She's on her phone, laughing at something or someone on the other end. Probably him. The thought churns in my stomach, but I swallow it down. I have to stay calm. Cool heads win battles, and today, I intend to win the war. She steps toward the front door, not even glancing at the eerily dark windows of the house. No lights, no movement, nothing but silence. Her hand reaches for the door handle, and I slip out through the back, moving quickly and silently into the alleyway where I parked my truck. Her voice calls out as she enters the house. "Babe. Are you home?" There's no answer. Of course there isn't. I start my truck, gripping the wheel tightly, but I don't drive away just yet. No, I want to picture her face as she walks through our now emptied living room. The camera feed on my phone buzzes to life. I've set up hidden cameras around the house, and they all stream directly to me. She stands in the entryway, a puzzled expression on her face as she looks around. "What the?" she mutters. Her designer shoes echo on the hardwood floor as she ventures further inside. Everything's gone, no couch, no TV, no family photos on the walls. Just the bare bones of a house she thought was still a home. "Babe." Her voice rises, a thread of panic creeping in. I smirk. She's only beginning to understand what's happening. The first bombshell is waiting for her in the kitchen. She steps through the archway, and there it is on the counter, a sleek black laptop with a bright post-it note stuck to the screen. The note is simple, written in my handwriting, "Play me." "Okay, this isn't funny," she mutters, her voice shaking slightly. She sets her purse down on the counter and opens the laptop. The screen flickers to life, and I see my own face staring back at her. The video begins to play. "Hi, Jenna," I say, my tone calm but cold. "If you're watching this, then you've already noticed the house is empty. There's a reason for that. Sit down, this is going to take a while." Her face pales. She leans against the counter for support, her free hand gripping the edge tightly. "Over the past 3 months, I've noticed a change in you. Late nights at work. Secretive phone calls. Texts you didn't want me to see. You probably thought I was oblivious, but I wasn't. I saw everything. I knew everything." Her mouth opens slightly, as though she's about to speak, but no words come out. The video continues. "I didn't want to jump to conclusions, so I gathered proof. Lots of proof. Every lie you told, every night you didn't come home, every little detail, you'll find it all here." I gesture to a folder icon on the desktop labeled 1000 gigabytes of truth. Her hand hovers over the mouse pad, trembling. She doesn't click it. Not yet. In that folder, Jenna, is everything. Texts, emails, photos, even videos, thanks to a little help from some strategically placed cameras. You've been busy, but so have I. Her eyes widen, darting toward the nearest camera hidden in the corner of the kitchen. She looks back at the screen, a mixture of rage and fear on her face. "Take your time to go through it. Or don't. Either way, it doesn't matter to me. The divorce papers are in the envelope on the counter. Sign them. I've already left." The video ends abruptly, leaving her staring at the blank screen. Her breathing is shallow, panicked. She looks around the house again, as if trying to make sense of everything. I watch it all unfold on my phone, a grim satisfaction settling over me. The game has only just begun. Jenna's hand finally moves toward the mouse. Her hesitation is almost palpable, like she's bracing herself for the blow she knows is coming. Slowly, she clicks on the folder labeled 1000 gigabytes of truth. I see her expression harden as the screen floods with subfolders, texts, calls, locations, photos, and the one I know will gut her the most, videos. Each file is meticulously organized, time-stamped, and damning. She clicks on the first folder, texts. The screen displays a series of screenshots. Her face goes blank as she reads her own words from weeks ago, exchanged with the man she thought I didn't know about. Her lover. Her accomplice in this betrayal. Last night was amazing, the text reads. He has no idea. I'll see you again after work. I watch her cover her mouth with her hand, her breaths shallow. The camera feed shows her scrolling through the texts, her fingers trembling as she reads every sordid detail. The way she joked about me, the way she lied so easily. She mumbles under her breath, "Oh my God. Oh my God." But she doesn't stop. She clicks back and selects the next folder, calls. This one is even worse. There are audio recordings. She hesitates, then clicks play on the first file. "Hey, babe," her voice says through the laptop speakers. "I can't wait to see you tonight. He's working late, so we've got all the time in the world." Her hand flies to her mouth again, as if she can stop the words from escaping into the air. I know exactly when and where that call was made. My sources and tools made sure of it. She doesn't bother finishing the recording. She closes the folder and leans back against the counter, visibly shaken. But curiosity, or maybe guilt, drives her forward. This time, she clicks on the folder labeled photos. Her gasp is audible, even through my phone. The images are clear, damning. Photos of her with him, laughing together at a bar she told me she was meeting the girls at. Another of them at the park, his hand resting intimately on her lower back. And the pièce de résistance, a selfie they took together in the hotel room. Tears well up in her eyes now. I can see it in her face, shock, anger, disbelief. But she hasn't reached the final blow yet. She stares at the last folder, videos. For a moment, she just sits there, motionless, staring at the screen as though willing it to disappear. Then, as if on autopilot, she clicks on the folder and selects the first video file. The screen flickers, and a grainy image appears, the two of them entering a motel room, his arm around her waist. The timestamp is unmistakable. She had told me she was working late that night. She slams the laptop shut, the sound reverberating through the empty kitchen. "What the hell?" she whispers to herself, her voice thick with disbelief. Her head snaps up as she scans the room, her eyes darting to every corner. The realization sets in. I can almost hear her thoughts. How long has he known? How much did he see? She grabs the envelope I left on the counter, ripping it open with trembling hands. Her eyes scan the divorce papers quickly, but her focus is scattered. "No. No, no, no," she mutters. Her panic grows as she flips through the pages, her voice rising. This isn't happening. My phone buzzes. A call from her. I ignore it. A second call comes in, then a third. Each one I decline sends her spiraling further into desperation. "Pick up, damn it," she yells at the phone, her voice cracking. But I won't. Not yet. In the driveway, I sit back in my truck, watching it all unfold. She hasn't even noticed the final twist yet. The USB drive sitting on the dining table, loaded with the one thing she won't be able to ignore. A detailed financial account of her spending, her lies, and the steps I've taken to secure my freedom from her deceit. She thinks this is bad now. She hasn't even scratched the surface. Jenna paces back and forth in the kitchen, her phone clutched tightly in her hand, her breathing shallow. She dials my number again. My phone buzzes insistently on the passenger seat beside me, but I let it ring. The unanswered calls are as much a part of the plan as everything else. Finally, her pacing slows, and she notices the small USB drive on the dining table. Its sleek, silver surface catches the light, and a post-it note sticks to it, bearing just one word, proof. She freezes, staring at it as though it might explode. Her hand hovers over the drive, trembling. She knows she shouldn't, but she can't resist. Slowly, she picks it up and walks back to the laptop. I watch on my phone as she plugs it in and clicks on the folder that pops up. It's labeled, Financial Records and Agreements. Her lips move silently as she reads through the documents. These aren't the smoking gun texts or damning photos, this is something colder, more calculated. A detailed breakdown of every dollar she spent in the last year, categorized into household expenses, personal indulgences, and the one that makes her jaw tighten, affair-related costs. I made sure to include everything, hotel bills, complete with dates and times. Lavish meals at restaurants, she claimed were working dinners. The gift she bought him, a $1,200 watch, paid for with the credit card we shared. Oh my God, she whispers, her voice cracking. Her shoulders slump under the weight of it all. But that's not the end. Not by a long shot. She clicks on another document labeled Asset Reallocation. This one outlines my actions over the past month, moving my name off the mortgage, transferring funds from our shared savings account to a private one, and selling my share of a property we co-owned. Her breath catches. No, 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 she mutters, flipping through the files, her panic growing. She grabs the phone again and dials. This time, it's not me. Mom, she stammers when the call connects, I think he's leaving me. No, he's not here. The house is empty. He took everything. She pauses, her voice breaking. I don't know what to do. Her mother must say something that sets her off, because Jenna suddenly snaps, no, I didn't. It's not what you think. He's overreacting. It was nothing serious. Her denial is almost laughable. She's still trying to downplay it, still trying to control the narrative. But the evidence is overwhelming, and she knows it. As she continues arguing with her mother, I shift in my truck, the faint hum of satisfaction coursing through me. There's one more piece of the puzzle she hasn't seen yet. On the USB, there's a folder marked Legal Agreements. Eventually, she hangs up the phone and clicks on it. Her face crumples as she skims the documents. A comprehensive prenup she forgot she signed years ago, and a letter from my attorney outlining her infidelity as grounds for a swift and uncontested divorce. At the very bottom is a file labeled Final Message. She clicks it hesitantly, and my voice fills the room again. Jenna, I say, my tone measured, calm. By now, you've seen everything. The lies, the betrayal, the financial toll your choices have taken on this marriage. I've made my decision. The divorce papers are non-negotiable. I've also taken steps to ensure I'm not on the hook for your debts, or any further fallout from your actions. All you need to do is sign the papers. If you don't, my lawyer will ensure this goes to court, where the evidence I've collected will make things much worse for you. This is what you wanted, Jenna. Freedom. Congratulations. You have it. But remember, freedom comes with consequences. The video ends. She stares at the blank screen, her shoulders heaving as silent sobs rack her body. I put my truck in gear and pull out of the alleyway, leaving behind the shattered remnants of what once was my life with her. Jenna sits at the dining table, her face buried in her hands. The room around her feels cold and hollow, like the walls themselves have turned against her. For the first time, she looks truly alone. No safety net, no husband to turn to, and no quick lie to get her out of this mess. Her phone buzzes on the table, another call. She grabs it, desperate for some kind of support, but the name on the screen only makes her wince. Michael. It's him. The other man. She hesitates, glancing at the laptop where the files are still open, mocking her with every recorded detail. Finally, she answers, her voice a hoarse whisper. Hello. Hey, Michael says casually, completely unaware of the storm brewing on her end. Just checking in. You make it home okay? Her anger flares at his nonchalance. No, Michael, I didn't make it home okay. Everything's ruined. He knows, okay. He knows about us. There's a long pause on the other end. What do you mean, he knows? Jenna lets out a bitter laugh. He knows everything. The texts, the hotels, the money. You think I'm making this up? He's gone, Michael. The house is empty, and he left me with a pile of evidence that could destroy me in court. Michael's voice lowers, irritation creeping in. Well, that's not my problem, Jenna. I told you this was risky. You're the one who wanted to keep it going. His indifference stings, and she grips the phone tighter, her knuckles white. You're unbelievable. You were fine with it when it suited you, but now that it's blowing up, you're just going to walk away. Look, he says sharply, I'm not the one married. You're the one who had everything to lose. Maybe you should have thought about that before dragging me into this. The call ends abruptly, leaving Jenna staring at the screen in disbelief. The one person she thought might stand by her is already backing away, his self-preservation instincts kicking in. She flings the phone across the room, watching as it clatters against the wall and falls to the floor, the screen cracking. Her anger turns to panic as the full weight of the situation settles on her. She grabs the laptop again, scrolling through the documents, searching for something, anything, that might give her leverage. But the evidence is airtight. Every lie, every betrayal, every ounce of trust she squandered is laid bare, and the scales are tipping completely in my favor. And then, as if to twist the knife further, she notices a new folder on the USB. It wasn't there before, or maybe she was too distraught to notice. The folder is labeled Friends and Family. Her fingers hover over the mouse, dread pooling in her stomach. Slowly, she clicks on it. Inside, she finds files titled with names she recognizes, her parents, her best friend, even her boss. Each one contains emails, screenshots, and letters I've prepared to send if she refuses to comply with the divorce terms. Oh no, she whispers, scrolling through the files. No, 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 there's a draft email to her mother that reads, Dear Mrs. Larson, I wanted to reach out personally to share some difficult truths about Jenna and the decisions she's made that have led us to this point. While I had hoped to resolve this quietly, I feel it's important for you to understand the full context of what's happening. The implications are clear. If she fights this, I'm prepared to expose everything, not just to the courts, but to everyone she holds dear. Her chest tightens as she realizes just how far I've gone, how meticulously I've prepared for this. She thought she could control the narrative, but I've taken every shred of power away from her. She slams the laptop shut again, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Her mind races with questions. Can I fix this? Is there any way to undo the damage? But deep down, she knows the answer. There's no fixing this. I've won. And as she collapses into a chair, sobbing into her hands, I drive down the highway, miles away from the wreckage she's left behind, finally free. Jenna sits in silence, the house feeling colder and emptier with each passing moment. Her sobs have quieted, replaced by a numb stillness. She reaches for the divorce papers again, her fingers trembling as she flips through them, skimming the cold, legal language that now dictates the collapse of her marriage. Her phone buzzes again, a reminder that the world is still spinning outside this imploded bubble. The cracked screen barely lights up, but she can make out her mother's name. Reluctantly, she picks it up and answers, her voice weak. "Hi, Mom." "Jenna, what's going on? You sounded hysterical earlier. What happened?" Jenna hesitates. What can she even say? How does she explain this without giving away the truth? Her mind races, searching for an angle, a story, anything that might make her look like the victim. It's nothing, really," she finally stammers. "Just a fight. He left for a while to cool off." There's a pause on the other end of the line, the kind only a mother can create, when she knows her child isn't telling the whole truth. "Jenna," her mother says firmly, "this doesn't sound like nothing. Did something happen? Did you do something?" The words hit like a slap, and Jenna flinches. "What? No. Why would you even ask that?" she snaps, her tone defensive. "I know you," her mother replies. "You've always had a way of testing boundaries." "Jenna, if there's something you're not telling me, Mom, stop." Jenna cuts her off, tears threatening to spill again. I need time to figure this out, okay? I'll call you later." She ends the call abruptly, her heart pounding. The walls feel like they're closing in. She knows she can't stay here, surrounded by the emptiness and the evidence of her unraveling life. Grabbing her purse and keys, she storms out of the house, slamming the door behind her. She doesn't know where she's going, only that she needs to escape. Meanwhile, I pull into the parking lot of a quiet motel on the outskirts of town. It's a far cry from the life I've been living, but it's temporary. A necessary step in my plan to rebuild. I sit in the truck for a moment, staring at the keys in the ignition. Part of me feels a pang of sadness. This wasn't how I wanted my marriage to end. But every time I think of her lies, her laughter with him, the way she so easily deceived me, that sadness turns into resolve. The front desk clerk barely looks up as I check in. A plain keycard slides across the counter, and I take it, heading to a room at the end of the hall. Inside, it's clean but bare, with neutral walls and a small desk in the corner. I set my bag down and open my laptop. The camera feeds from the house are still live, and I watch as Jenna speeds out of the driveway, tires squealing. "Where are you going, Jenna?" I mutter to myself. The GPS tracker on her car pings on my screen. I'd installed it weeks ago, and now it lights up with her location in real time. She's heading toward the city, weaving through streets at a reckless speed. I lean back in my chair, a grim smile forming. I'm not done yet. Not by a long shot. Jenna pulls into the parking lot of a bar she and Michael frequented, a dingy place on the edge of downtown. She needs to see him, to confront him, to demand some kind of loyalty in the chaos. The place is crowded, the neon sign flickering above the door. She pushes through the throng of people, scanning the room until she spots him at a table near the back. He's not alone. Michael is laughing with another woman, a brunette who leans in close, her hand casually resting on his arm. Jenna freezes, the scene cutting through her like a blade. She stands there unnoticed, as Michael leans closer to the woman, his hand brushing her cheek. Her anger boils over. She marches up to the table, slamming her hand down hard enough to rattle their drinks. "Really?" she spits. "This is how you check in on me? With her?" Michael looks up, startled, then annoyed. "Jenna, not here. Calm down." "I will not calm down," she shouts, drawing the attention of nearby patrons. "You don't get to brush me off after everything." Michael's face hardens. "Look, this isn't my problem, okay? You made your choices, and I'm not getting dragged into your mess. We had fun, but that's all it was. Now, leave me alone." The words hit her like a slap. She stumbles back, the room spinning around her. For the first time, she realizes she's truly alone. Jenna stumbles out of the bar, the cold night air hitting her like a wall. Her cheeks burn with embarrassment, her mind spinning from Michael's cold dismissal. She clutches her purse tightly, unsure of where to go or what to do. Her world is unraveling faster than she can piece it back together. Her phone vibrates in her pocket. She hesitates before pulling it out, the cracked screen glaring at her. A text notification lights up the display. Mom, Jenna, whatever's going on, you need to be honest with yourself. Call me when you're ready to talk. Her thumb hovers over the screen, but she doesn't reply. What could she even say? That she's ruined her marriage, her reputation, and now the one man she thought cared about her is treating her like a bad memory. She starts walking, her heels clicking loudly on the empty sidewalk. The city feels unforgiving tonight, its neon lights harsh and unwelcoming. She passes by darkened storefronts and closed restaurants, her thoughts swirling. I need to fix this, she tells herself. There has to be a way. But deep down, she knows there isn't. Back at the motel, I close my laptop and lean back in the creaky desk chair. The GPS tracker shows her wandering aimlessly through the city. I wonder if she's feeling the full weight of what she's done yet. The small room is quiet, save for the hum of the mini-fridge in the corner. I stare at the ceiling, letting the events of the past few months replay in my mind. The late nights, the suspicious excuses, the quiet moments when I felt her slipping away, but couldn't put my finger on why. And then the discovery. The first incriminating text message, the phone calls she thought I didn't notice, the hotel receipts tucked carelessly into her purse. Each piece of evidence felt like a knife, cutting deeper until there was nothing left but the cold, hard truth. I'd always thought I'd react with anger, maybe even confrontation. But instead, I felt a strange, eerie calm. The betrayal was so complete, so devastating, that it left no room for anything but clarity. I remember sitting in our empty living room, the house quiet as I planned my exit. Jenna had always underestimated me, assuming I'd be too trusting, too passive to ever see the truth. But she was wrong. This wasn't just about leaving her. It was about making sure she felt the consequences of her actions. Jenna finally stops at a park bench, her legs aching from walking aimlessly for so long. She sits down, shivering in the chilly air, her thoughts racing. She pulls her phone out again, scrolling through her contacts. Her thumb hovers over my name. She hesitates, then presses it. The phone rings once, twice, 3 times before going to voicemail. She tries again. This time, I answer. Hello, Jenna, I say calmly, my voice cutting through the silence on her end. Her breath catches. You answered, she whispers. What do you want? I ask, my tone devoid of emotion. I just want to talk, she stammers. Please, can we just talk? There's nothing left to talk about, I reply. You made your choices, Jenna. Now you're living with the consequences. I didn't mean for any of this to happen, she says, her voice breaking. I was stupid, okay. I messed up. But we can fix this, can't we? We can. No, Jenna, I cut her off. There's no we anymore. You ended that the moment you decided I wasn't enough for you. She starts crying, the sound raw and desperate. Please, I'll do anything. Just, come home. We can work through this. I'll make it right. I promise. I let her sob for a moment before speaking. Jenna, I say, my voice firm, this isn't something you can fix. You betrayed me. You lied to me. And now, you're alone because of it. That's the reality you created. Not me. She's silent for a moment, her breathing ragged. Then, softly, she says, "I still love you." I close my eyes, the words stinging more than I expected. But I've come too far to turn back now. "I don't love you anymore," I say. "Goodbye, Jenna." I hang up, staring at the phone in my hand. My heart feels heavy, but there's a sense of finality that I know I need to embrace. Jenna sits on the bench, the dial tone ringing in her ears. For the first time, she truly feels the depth of what she's lost. The man who loved her, who trusted her, who built a life with her, is gone. And she's the one who pushed him away. Jenna remains on the park bench, her phone dangling loosely in her hand. Her tears have dried, leaving streaks of mascara down her cheeks. She stares at the cracked screen, rereading the last call log. Husband, 1 minute and 23 seconds. Her mind reels. My words echo in her head, louder and sharper with each replay. "I don't love you anymore." "Goodbye, Jenna." The weight of the finality crushes her. She tries to rationalize, to convince herself this can't be the end. We've had arguments before, disagreements that felt insurmountable in the moment, but always found resolution. This must be another one of those, right? But deep down, she knows this time is different. The house, the files, the coldness in my voice, it all points to one inescapable truth. She picks up her phone again, navigating to the contacts list. Her thumb scrolls hesitantly before landing on a familiar name, Allison. Her best friend. Her confidant. She presses call, holding her breath as it rings. The phone rings as I sit in my motel room, my laptop open and the camera feeds from the house still running. Jenna's figure on the park bench is clear on the screen. I see her talking into the phone, her gestures frantic. I switch to another tab, where my carefully timed email drafts sit, waiting to be sent. The ones to her friends, her family, even her boss. I hover over the send all button but hesitate. I've been decisive and methodical so far, but something makes me pause. Not pity, not regret, just a sense of weight. This isn't just about revenge anymore. It's about reclaiming myself. I close the laptop for now. I've already made my point. "Allison, I don't know what to do," Jenna says, her voice cracking as she spills the story. The details come out in a flood: my departure, the files, the USB drive. There's a long silence on the other end of the line. Jenna waits, hoping for the comforting words that Allison has always been quick to offer. Instead, Allison sighs. "Jenna, what did you think was going to happen?" Jenna freezes, stunned. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means you've been walking this tightrope for months," Allison replies, her voice firm. "I warned you. I told you this would catch up to you. But you didn't listen." Jenna's anger flares. "You don't know what it's been like." "I wasn't trying to hurt anyone, I just needed," she trails off, searching for words. "You needed what?" Allison presses. "Excitement. Validation. Whatever it was, it's cost you everything. You need to own that." Tears spring to Jenna's eyes again. "I thought you were my friend," she says quietly. "I am your friend," Allison replies. "And that's why I'm telling you the truth. You messed up, Jenna. Big time. Now you've got to figure out how to live with it." Jenna ends the call without another word, her hand trembling as she tosses the phone onto the bench beside her. The city feels unbearably loud and empty all at once, the noise pressing in on her like a tidal wave. I drive out to a quiet diner on the edge of town, the kind of place where no one asks questions. I sit at the counter, nursing a cup of coffee that's too bitter, but comforting in its familiarity. A TV in the corner plays the news, but I barely hear it. My mind is elsewhere, sifting through the remnants of the life I've left behind. I think about Jenna's face when she first opened the laptop. The shock, the fear, the realization of her own actions staring back at her. It should feel satisfying, but all I feel is a heavy sort of emptiness. The waitress refills my cup, her smile kind but distant. "Rough night?" she asks. "You could say that," I reply, forcing a small smile. She nods knowingly, leaving me to my thoughts. As I sip the coffee, I realize I don't feel like a man who's won. I feel like a man who survived. Back at the park, Jenna finally stands, brushing herself off. She picks up her phone, scrolling through her contacts one last time. Her thumb hovers over my name again, but she knows I won't answer. Instead, she types out a text message. "I know I don't deserve another chance, but I'm asking anyway. Please. Let me fix this." She hesitates before hitting send. The message disappears into the void, and she stands there, waiting, hoping. But my phone doesn't buzz. I've already blocked her number. She'll never know. Jenna stands motionless in the park, her thumb still hovering over her phone's darkened screen. Her chest tightens as the seconds pass without a reply. She tells herself there's still a chance, that I might respond, that I might still care enough to give her a way back. But deep down, she knows the truth. She's run out of chances. The cold wind bites at her skin, and she wraps her arms around herself, the weight of the empty house, the failed relationship, and the rejection from Michael all pressing down like a suffocating blanket. She begins walking, aimlessly, her heels clicking against the pavement. At the diner, I sip the last of my coffee, leaving the cup on the counter as I slide a few bills under the plate. The waitress nods, her smile still distant, as I stand and head toward the door. My phone sits silently in my jacket pocket. I don't need to check it to know there's likely another message from Jenna. Blocking her number was a strategic move, but I haven't blocked her from sending emails. That, too, is part of the plan. I don't want to erase her desperation, I want her to sit with it. To feel it. To know what it's like to be the one left behind. Back in my truck, I sit for a moment before pulling up the GPS tracker again. The signal pings her location, still within the city. I zoom in and see she's near a bridge that overlooks the river, a spot we used to visit on warm summer evenings when things were still good. It's ironic, really. She's searching for solace in a place that holds so many memories of what she's destroyed. Jenna reaches the bridge, leaning against the railing as she stares down at the dark, swirling water below. The city lights reflect on the surface, their brightness mocking her. She pulls her phone out again, scrolling through her emails. She opens the draft folder, her fingers trembling as she types out another message. Subject: "I'm sorry, I don't know what to say anymore. I know I hurt you, and I know I can't undo it. But I need you to know that I never stopped loving you. Even when I messed up, even when I lied, I loved you. I still do. Please, let me fix this. I'll do anything. Please don't give up on me." She stares at the words for a long moment before hitting send. The screen confirms the email has been delivered, but she doesn't feel any relief. Just a growing pit of despair. The email comes through on my laptop. I see the notification pop up on the corner of the screen, but I don't open it. Not yet. Instead, I open the folder labeled Closure. It contains my final steps, a detailed breakdown of how I'll formally end this chapter of my life. Bank accounts already secured, the house transferred to my name alone, and the divorce papers ready to be filed with the court. Her apology, her pleas, they are too late. I've already moved on, even if my heart hasn't fully caught up. I close the laptop and stare out the motel window, the distant hum of traffic a strange comfort. For the first time in weeks, I feel the faintest hint of peace, Jenna eventually turns away from the river, her steps heavy as she walks back to her car. The city feels even colder now, its lights dimmer. As she sits behind the wheel, she stares at her reflection in the rearview mirror. Her makeup is smudged, her hair disheveled, her eyes red and swollen. This is who she's become, a woman who had everything and threw it away. She grips the steering wheel, her knuckles white. For the first time, the anger isn't directed outward. It's turned inward, sharp and unforgiving. She starts the car and drives aimlessly, not knowing where to go. She can't go back to the house, it's just a shell now, a painful reminder of what she's lost. Her thoughts drift to the future. What happens now? How does she rebuild from this? But no answers come. Just the deafening silence of her own regret. Jenna drives aimlessly, the city blurring past her as she tries to outrun her thoughts. Every mile feels heavier, the memories she's tried to suppress resurfacing with relentless clarity. The laughter we once shared, the quiet nights spent planning a future together, the way I used to look at her like she was my entire world, it all haunts her now. She pulls into an empty parking lot, killing the engine and sitting in silence. Her chest feels tight, and her breathing grows shallow. The weight of everything, her betrayal, my departure, Michael's rejection, bears down on her, threatening to crush her entirely. She reaches for her phone again, scrolling through her email. There's no reply from me. She refreshes the inbox once, twice, 3 times, but it stays empty. Her eyes fall on the sent folder, where her desperate messages sit like unanswered cries for help. She opens the most recent one, rereading the words she poured her heart into, hoping for a glimmer of understanding. The silence is unbearable. She grips the phone tightly, tears streaming down her face. Please, she whispers to no one, her voice cracking. Just please. Back at the motel, I finally open the email. Her words scroll across the screen, raw and pleading, but they fail to stir the emotions she's hoping for. I set the laptop aside and lie back on the bed, staring at the ceiling. There's a strange sense of detachment now, as though the chapter of my life with Jenna is already sealed shut. Her apologies might have meant something once, but they are hollow now, drowned out by the mountain of lies and deceit that led us here. My phone buzzes, and I glance at the screen. A text from my sister. Eileen, just wanted to check in. How are you holding up? I type out a quick reply. Me, better than I thought I'd be. Thanks for everything. Her response comes almost instantly. Eileen, you deserve better, you know. Don't let her drag you back down. I nod to myself, her words reinforcing what I already know. This is the right path, the only path. Jenna sits in the car, staring at the glowing screen of her phone. She types out another message to me, her fingers shaking as she presses each key. Subject: one last chance. I know I've hurt you in ways I can't take back. I know I've broken your trust, and I know I don't deserve anything from you. But I can't give up on us. I love you, and I will fight for you if you let me. Just give me one chance to prove I can be better. Please. She hesitates for a long moment before hitting send. The email disappears into the void, and she leans back in her seat, her heart pounding. This time, she doesn't expect a reply. The notification pops up on my laptop, and I click it out of curiosity. Her words scroll across the screen, but they barely register. It's not that I don't believe she's sincere, she might very well be. But sincerity doesn't undo the damage she's done. I glance at the folder labeled closure again, the final steps of my plan waiting to be executed. My hand hovers over the mouse, but I pause. Instead, I close the laptop and stand, pacing the small motel room. The heaviness in my chest isn't anger anymore, it's a strange mix of relief and grief. Relief that I'm finally free, and grief for the love we once had that will never come back. I pick up my phone and type out a single message to her. Me, stop sending emails. There's nothing left to say. Jenna's phone buzzes, and she scrambles to unlock it, her breath catching in her throat. She reads the message, her heart sinking with every word. Stop sending emails. There's nothing left to say. Her hands fall to her lap, the phone slipping from her grasp. For a moment, she sits in stunned silence, the finality of the message sinking in. I'm done. Completely, irreversibly done. The sobs come again, racking her body as she sits alone in the darkened car. This is it, the breaking point. The moment she realizes there's no coming back from what she's done. I sit on the edge of the motel bed, staring at my phone. For the first time in weeks, the weight on my chest feels lighter. I've done what I needed to do. The road ahead won't be easy, but it's mine to walk now. And as I lie back, closing my eyes, I let the silence envelop me. Jenna sits in her car for what feels like hours, staring blankly at the cracked phone screen. Her body is numb, the emotional storm having left her drained and hollow. The reality she's tried to fight against, to deny, has finally hit her with full force. I'm not coming back. She wipes her face with the sleeve of her coat, her breaths coming in shallow gasps. The silence of the car feels oppressive, the once comforting hum of the city now a deafening reminder of her isolation. Reaching for her keys, she starts the engine and begins driving. This time, she knows where she's going. I wake up the next morning to sunlight streaming through the thin motel curtains. The room is still and quiet, and for a moment, I lie there, staring at the ceiling, letting the realization sink in. This is my life now. Free. Alone, but free. I grab my laptop and check my inbox, half expecting another barrage of emails from Jenna. But there's nothing. Not a single message. My phone sits on the nightstand, silent as well. No calls, no texts. I should feel relief, but instead, there's a strange ache in my chest. Not regret, just the hollow weight of knowing how final this is. I close the laptop and stand, stretching. There's a full day ahead of me, and for the first time in a long while, it's mine to fill. No lies to uncover, no suspicions to confirm, no emotional minefields to navigate. Jenna pulls into the driveway of her parents' house, the familiar sight of the old brick home triggering a flood of memories. She hasn't been here in months, maybe even a year. It's always been easier to keep her distance, to avoid the questions and concerns her parents are so quick to voice. But now, she has nowhere else to go. Her mother answers the door, her expression softening when she sees Jenna's tear-streaked face. "Oh, sweetheart," she says, pulling her into a tight embrace. "What happened?" Jenna doesn't respond at first, just clings to her mother like a lifeline. The tears start again, hot and uncontrollable, as the weight of everything she's done pours out. Her father appears in the doorway, his face lined with concern. "Jenna, are you okay?" She pulls away from her mother, wiping her face. "No," she says hoarsely. "I'm not okay." By mid-afternoon, I'm back on the road, heading toward the outskirts of the city. The motel was a temporary stop, a place to regroup while I figured out my next steps. But now it's time to move forward. The plan is simple: stay with an old friend for a while, someone who knows the situation and has offered me a place to land. From there, I'll rebuild. Slowly, methodically, just like I planned the exit. The road stretches ahead, the city fading in the rearview mirror. Jenna sits in her childhood bedroom, the space feeling foreign yet familiar. Her mother brings her tea, sitting on the edge of the bed as Jenna tries to explain everything. "I don't know how it got this bad," Jenna says, her voice trembling. I don't know what I thought." Her mother listens quietly, her face a mix of disappointment and compassion. When Jenna finally finishes, her mother places a hand on hers. You made mistakes, Jenna. Big ones. But the only way forward is to take responsibility and start over. Jenna nods, the words sinking in. I just don't know where to start. Her mother squeezes her hand. You start by accepting that it's over. And then you figure out who you want to be without him. I arrive at my friend's house in the late afternoon, the sun low in the sky. The house is modest but welcoming, a place that already feels like a refuge. My friend, Mark, greets me at the door with a firm handshake and a pat on the back. You made it, he says simply. Yeah, I reply, stepping inside. We sit on the porch as the sun sets, beers in hand, the conversation light but grounding. For the first time in what feels like forever, I feel like myself again. Back at her parents' house, Jenna sits at the desk in her room, staring at a blank notebook. Her mother's words echo in her mind, figure out who you want to be. She picks up a pen and starts writing, her hand shaking slightly. I was selfish. I was careless. I hurt someone who loved me unconditionally. And now, I have to live with the consequences. The words flow slowly at first, but then faster, spilling onto the page like a confession. I don't know if I can fix what I've broken. But I have to try. Not for him, for me. The page fills, and she sets the pen down, her heart heavy but determined. Jenna stares at the notebook in front of her, the words on the page staring back like a mirror. For the first time in weeks, she feels a flicker of clarity. She knows this won't be easy, but she also knows it's time to start picking up the shattered pieces of her life. The next morning, she wakes early and heads downstairs. Her parents are already in the kitchen, her mother at the stove and her father reading the paper at the table. You're up early, her mother says with a gentle smile. Jenna nods. I need to start figuring things out. Maybe find a counselor or someone to talk to. Her mother sets down the spatula and walks over, giving her a warm hug. That's a good step, sweetheart. One step at a time. Her father glances over the paper, his expression unreadable. And your husband, he asks. Jenna swallows hard, her throat tight. He's done with me, she admits quietly. And I don't blame him. Her father nods slowly, as if weighing her words. Then focus on yourself. Make this about rebuilding, not wallowing. I wake up to sunlight streaming through the window of Mark's guest room. It's a simple space, just a bed, a nightstand and a small closet, but it feels like a fresh start. The smell of coffee wafts through the house, and I follow it to the kitchen, where Mark is already at the table, scrolling through his tablet. Morning, he says with a nod, sliding a mug toward me. Morning, I reply, taking a seat. We sit in companionable silence for a while, sipping coffee and enjoying the quiet. Finally, Mark sets down his tablet and looks at me. So, what's the plan? He asks. I shrug, staring into my coffee. One day at a time, I guess. Find a new place, focus on work, and just move forward. Mark nods. You'll figure it out. You're smart, and you've got options. Just don't rush it. Thanks, I say, appreciating his calm, steady presence. Jenna spends the day researching local counselors and therapists, her determination growing with each step. She knows this isn't something she can fix overnight, but reaching out for help feels like progress. By late afternoon, she's booked her first session for the following week. It's a small victory, but it's hers. She decides to take a walk, hoping the fresh air will clear her mind. As she strolls through her parents' neighborhood, the familiar streets bring back memories of simpler times, before the lies, before the betrayal, before everything fell apart. She stops at a park bench, sitting down and watching the world go by. Children play on the swings, their laughter filling the air, and for a moment, she lets herself smile. But the weight of regret isn't far behind. I had that once, she thinks. A happy, stable life. And I threw it away. At Mark's house, I sit on the porch, my laptop open on the small table in front of me. The email I sent to my lawyer earlier confirms that the divorce papers are officially in motion. There's no turning back now, not that I'd want to. As I scroll through my inbox, I notice another email from Jenna. The subject line is simple, "Thank you." I hesitate for a moment before opening it. I don't expect you to reply, and I know you've already made your decision. But I wanted to say thank you, not for leaving, but for making me face the truth about myself. I've started taking steps to fix what I've broken, and while I know I'll never earn your forgiveness, I hope I can at least learn from this. You didn't deserve what I did to you, and I'm sorry. I stare at the words, my emotions a complicated mix of relief, sadness, and closure. It's not forgiveness she's asking for, it's accountability. I close the email and shut the laptop, letting out a long breath. For the first time, I feel like I can truly move on. That night, Jenna lies awake in bed, her thoughts racing but calmer than they've been in weeks. She doesn't know what the future holds, but for the first time, she feels like she has a chance to shape it. And somewhere, miles away, I sit on the porch, staring at the stars and letting the silence fill the spaces where anger and heartbreak used to live. Jenna steps into the cozy office of the therapist she found online. It's a small, inviting space with soft lighting and warm tones, designed to feel less clinical and more personal. She sits in the chair across from the therapist, a kind-faced woman named Dr. Harris, who smiles gently at her. "This is a brave step," Dr. Harris begins. "Coming here, acknowledging that you need help. It's not easy." Jenna nods, fidgeting with the hem of her sweater. I don't even know where to start," she admits, her voice trembling. "Start wherever you feel comfortable," Dr. Harris says. "There's no right or wrong way to do this." Jenna takes a deep breath, the weight of the last few weeks pressing down on her. "I ruined my marriage," she says finally. "And I don't know how to live with myself after everything I did." The words hang in the air, heavy and raw. Dr. Harris leans forward slightly, her expression compassionate. "Acknowledging that is the first step toward healing. Let's explore what led to those decisions and how we can work on rebuilding, not just your life, but your sense of self." Jenna nods, her chest tightening with a mixture of fear and hope. Meanwhile, I sit in the office of a small apartment complex, going over the lease agreement for a modest one-bedroom unit. It's not much, but it's mine, a place to start fresh. The property manager hands me the keys, and I thank her before heading to the apartment. The space is bare, with plain white walls and an empty living room that echoes with every step. I set my bag down in the corner and look around. It's a far cry from the home I shared with Jenna, but it feels like freedom. Over the next few hours, I unpack the essentials, clothes, a few personal items, and my laptop. There's no furniture yet, but I don't mind. For now, I'm content with the empty space and the possibilities it holds. Jenna leaves her therapy session feeling emotionally drained, but oddly lighter. Dr. Harris's words replay in her mind: "You can't change the past, but you can choose how you move forward." She stops by a coffee shop on her way home, sitting by the window as she sips her drink and watches people pass by. For the first time in weeks, she feels like she has a plan, however fragile it may be. Over the next few days, I focus on settling into my new apartment. I pick up a second-hand couch from a thrift store, a small dining table, and a bed frame. Piece by piece, the space starts to feel like mine. Mark stops by to help me assemble the furniture, cracking jokes to keep the mood light. "This place isn't half bad," he says, surveying the apartment. "Thanks," I reply, tightening a screw on the table leg. "It's a work in progress." "Aren't we all?" he quips, handing me another screw. As the apartment comes together, so does my sense of purpose. I've started taking on extra work, diving into projects that keep me busy and focused. The quiet moments still bring flashes of the past, but they are becoming less frequent. Jenna continues her therapy sessions, each one peeling back another layer of her choices and the pain they caused. She starts journaling, pouring her thoughts onto paper as a way to process everything. Her parents notice the small changes, her willingness to talk, her effort to take accountability. It's not an overnight transformation, but it's a start. One evening, her mother finds her sitting at the kitchen table, her notebook open in front of her. Making progress, her mother asks, setting a cup of tea beside her. "I think so," Jenna replies. "I still feel like I've lost everything, but I'm trying to figure out who I am without him." Her mother nods, her smile gentle. "That's all you can do, sweetheart. Keep trying." As the weeks go by, I settle into a routine. Work keeps me busy during the day, and the evenings are mine to relax. I've started going for runs again, something I used to do before life got complicated. One evening, as I jog through the neighborhood near my apartment, I catch sight of a small park. Children are playing on the swings, their laughter echoing through the air. I pause for a moment, watching them, and a faint smile tugs at my lips. The bitterness is fading. Slowly but surely, it's giving way to something else, acceptance. Jenna spends her days focused on self-improvement, throwing herself into therapy, journaling, and rebuilding relationships with her friends and family. One evening, as she sits on her bed writing, she looks out the window at the stars. For the first time in a long while, she feels a flicker of hope. Our paths have diverged, each of us navigating our own journey toward healing. The scars of the past remain, but they are no longer open wounds. Life moves forward, one step at a time. Weeks turn into months, and life begins to stabilize for both of us, though on separate, unconnected paths. Jenna has moved back into her apartment, her parents' gentle encouragement giving her the strength to reclaim her independence. The space is quiet now, empty in a way that reflects the lingering echoes of her choices. She spends her evenings journaling or reading the self-help books Dr. Harris recommended, her focus shifting from regret to rebuilding. There are moments when the silence gets too loud, and the weight of everything she's lost presses down on her. But instead of drowning in it, she leans into the discomfort, determined to grow from it. In my new apartment, I've settled into a rhythm. The walls are no longer bare, decorated with framed photos of landscapes from my travels and a few personal mementos. The space feels like mine, a reflection of who I am now, not who I was. Work has been fulfilling, a welcome distraction from the quieter moments. I've taken on a few new projects, pouring my energy into creating something meaningful. The sense of purpose helps, filling the gaps left by the life I once shared with Jenna. One evening, Jenna decides to revisit a passion she'd abandoned years ago, painting. She sets up a small workspace in her apartment, spreading out brushes and canvases, letting her creativity flow. The act of painting is therapeutic, a way to express emotions she can't quite put into words. Her first few pieces are raw, chaotic, filled with the pain and confusion of the past year. But as time goes on, her strokes become more deliberate, her colors more vibrant. One night, her best friend Allison visits, her eyes lighting up when she sees the paintings. "Wow," Allison says, standing in front of a piece that bursts with deep blues and golds. "You've still got it." Jenna smiles, a small spark of pride flickering in her chest. "Thanks. It feels good to be doing something for me again." My evenings are quieter, often spent with a book or a movie, the simplicity of it all a welcome change. Mark stops by occasionally, checking in and making sure I'm not isolating myself too much. You should get out more, he says one night, leaning against the kitchen counter. There's a whole world out there, you know. I chuckle. I know. I'm just not in a rush. Well, don't wait too long, he says, grinning. The world won't wait forever. His words stick with me as I go about my routine. I know he's right. There's more to life than this apartment, more to experience beyond the confines of my work and personal reflections. One weekend, Jenna decides to display her paintings at a small local art fair. It's a leap of faith, putting her work, and herself, out there for the first time in years. The fair is bustling with people, the energy of the crowd a stark contrast to the quiet solitude she's grown accustomed to. She feels nervous at first, unsure of how her work will be received. But as people stop by her booth, complimenting her pieces and asking about her process, her confidence grows. By the end of the day, she sold 3 paintings and received an invitation to display her work at a gallery. It's a small victory, but it feels monumental. I decide to take Mark's advice and venture out one evening, heading to a community event at the local park. It's a casual gathering, live music, food trucks, families spread out on blankets under the open sky. I sit near the edge of the crowd, content to watch from a distance. The music is lively, the laughter of children filling the air. For the first time in a long while, I feel a sense of peace, a reminder that life continues, that joy is still possible. Jenna and I are moving forward, our lives no longer intertwined, but each finding a rhythm in the aftermath. There are moments when the past still lingers, a fleeting thought, or a familiar scent stirring old memories. But those moments no longer define us. Instead, we focus on the present, on the small victories that remind us we're still here, still capable of growth. Jenna's life continues to shift in small, but meaningful ways. The gallery that invited her to display her work has set up an opening night for her exhibit, a modest collection of her most powerful pieces. The gallery owner, an older woman named Claire, sees something in Jenna's work that she hasn't yet recognized in herself. These paintings tell a story, Claire says as they arrange the pieces on the walls. It's raw and real, and people will connect with that. Jenna smiles, though there's still a flicker of doubt in her chest. The thought of strangers analyzing her work, and by extension, the pain that inspired it, feels vulnerable, but also freeing. For me, the community event at the park sparks a shift. Over the next few weeks, I start exploring more, stepping out of the comfortable routine I've built. I attend local events, join a running group, and even take a photography class I've been curious about for years. One evening, while on a run with the group, I strike up a conversation with a fellow runner named Rachel. She's easy to talk to, her laughter bright and genuine. We exchange numbers, agreeing to meet for coffee later that week. It's not a date, not yet. Just 2 people connecting over a shared interest. But it feels like a step forward. The night of the gallery opening arrives, and Jenna stands near the entrance, greeting guests as they trickle in. Allison is by her side, her support steady and unwavering. The room fills with chatter as people admire the paintings, their reactions ranging from curiosity to awe. Jenna listens to their comments, her confidence growing with each passing moment. One guest, a middle-aged man with sharp eyes and a kind smile, stops in front of her most personal piece, a swirling mix of dark and light hues, capturing the emotional chaos of her life. "This one's my favorite," he says, turning to Jenna. "It's raw, but there's hope in it too." Jenna nods, her voice steady. "That's exactly what I wanted to convey." The man smiles. "You succeeded." My coffee meet-up with Rachel is light and easy, the conversation flowing effortlessly. We talk about everything from running trails to favorite books, avoiding the heavier topics that linger in both our pasts. As we part ways, she smiles warmly. This was fun. Let's do it again sometime. Definitely, I reply, feeling a sense of calm I haven't experienced in a long time. Jenna returns home after the gallery opening, the energy of the night still buzzing in her chest. She sold 4 pieces and received multiple commissions, but more importantly, she feels a sense of purpose she hasn't felt in years. She sits at her kitchen table, pulling out her journal. The words come easily now, her thoughts clear and unburdened. Tonight, I realized something. I'm not defined by my mistakes. I'm defined by how I choose to move forward. And for the first time, I feel like I'm moving in the right direction. The days turn into weeks, and life begins to unfold in unexpected ways. Jenna continues painting, her work gaining recognition in the local art scene. Her therapy sessions evolve from confronting the past to building a future she can be proud of. For me, the coffee meetups with Rachel turn into hikes, then dinners, then quiet evenings spent talking about everything and nothing. It's not a whirlwind romance, it's steady, thoughtful, built on trust and mutual respect. We don't rush. We don't need to. One afternoon, as Jenna walks through the park near her apartment, she spots a family playing on the swings. The sight brings a pang of nostalgia, but it doesn't hurt the way it used to. Instead, she feels a quiet sense of acceptance. The past will always be a part of her, but it no longer defines her. She pulls out her phone and snaps a photo of the scene, thinking it might make a good subject for her next painting. I sit on my apartment balcony, watching the sunset as Rachel texts me, asking about plans for the weekend. I smile, typing out a quick reply. The horizon glows with shades of orange and pink, a reminder that every day ends, but every day also begins anew. Our paths may never cross again, but in the distance that separates us, we've both found something worth holding on to, ourselves. Months pass, and the lives Jenna and I once shared continue to fade into separate, distinct paths. There's a sense of finality now, not just in the logistics of divorce and separation, but in our own minds and hearts. Jenna has embraced her identity as an artist, her work now featured in local galleries and art fairs. Each piece tells a part of her story, the strokes on the canvas reflecting the growth she's fought hard to achieve. Her once chaotic emotions are now channeled into vibrant, purposeful creations, earning her a reputation for her raw, honest style. One evening, as she prepares for another gallery exhibit, she receives a call from Allison. "Have you heard from him?" Allison asks casually. Jenna pauses, a brush in her hand. "No," she says softly. "And I don't expect to. I think that chapter is closed. And you're okay with that?" Jenna smiles faintly, dipping her brush into a deep shade of red. "Yeah, I am. For the first time, I feel like I'm okay with where I am. For me, life has settled into a steady rhythm. Rachel and I continue to build something that feels healthy and grounded. It's different from what I had with Jenna, less intense, more intentional." One weekend, as we hike through a wooded trail outside the city, Rachel asks about my past. "You don't have to share if you're not ready," she says, her voice gentle. I pause, considering her words. "It's not that I'm not ready," I reply. "I just think it's not where I want to live anymore." She nods, her understanding clear. "Then we'll leave it behind." The moment feels significant, a quiet affirmation that I've truly moved on. One day, Jenna finds herself back at the park where she sat the night I left her. The memories flood back, but they don't sting the way they once did. Instead, they feel like a distant echo of a life she no longer recognizes as her own. She sits on the same bench, pulling out her notebook. The words come easily now, her thoughts clear and purposeful. I thought losing him was the end of everything. But it wasn't. It was the beginning of me. She closes the notebook, her heart lighter. I spend a quiet evening on my balcony, watching the city lights twinkle in the distance. A breeze carries the faint scent of rain, and I take a deep breath, letting the calm wash over me. The email from my lawyer came earlier that day, confirming the divorce is officially finalized. I feel no anger, no sadness, just a sense of closure. I glance at my phone, where a text from Rachel sits unread. Dinner tomorrow. Your pick. I smile, typing out a quick response. Jenna's gallery opening is a success, the room filled with admirers of her work. She stands by her most recent piece, a vibrant abstract painting filled with swirling colors that seem to tell a story of transformation. A man approaches her, complimenting the painting. It feels like it's about change, he says. Jenna nods, her smile genuine. It is. It's about finding yourself after losing everything. Our lives have diverged, but in that divergence, we've found something important: peace. The scars of the past remain, but they've healed into reminders of lessons learned and growth achieved. In the quiet moments, we both reflect on what was lost and what was gained. And though we'll never share a life again, we've each found a way forward. Life, as it turns out, has a way of continuing. Time, as it always does, continues its steady march forward. The intensity of the past has softened into memories, some painful, some bittersweet, but all part of a story that has led to the present. For Jenna, the transformation is evident. Her art has become her lifeline, not just a career, but a source of joy and expression. She's no longer weighed down by guilt or regret. Instead, she uses those experiences to inspire her work, each piece a testament to her resilience. One evening, as she sits in her studio, she receives an email from a gallery in a nearby city. They've seen her work and want to feature her in an upcoming exhibition. She reads the email twice, her heart swelling with pride. She picks up her phone to call Allison, her excitement bubbling over. Allison, they want me in the city exhibit. Jenna exclaims, her voice filled with genuine happiness. I knew they would, Allison replies. You've worked so hard for this. You deserve it. As she hangs up, Jenna sits back in her chair, a smile on her face. For the first time in years, she feels like she's living a life she's proud of, one she built with her own hands. For me, life has settled into a steady, fulfilling rhythm. Rachel and I continue to grow closer, our relationship built on trust and mutual respect. She's brought a lightness into my life I didn't realize I was missing, and I'm grateful every day for the second chance at happiness. One weekend, we take a trip to the mountains, hiking to a secluded spot overlooking a serene lake. As we sit on a rock, watching the water ripple in the breeze, Rachel turns to me, her eyes warm. You seem at peace, she says softly. I think I am, I reply, my voice steady. For the first time in a long time. She smiles, resting her head on my shoulder. We sit there in comfortable silence, the moment a quiet affirmation of the journey I've taken to get here. Jenna stands in the city gallery, her paintings displayed prominently on the walls. The room buzzes with energy as guests admire the work, their voices blending into a pleasant hum. She overhears snippets of conversations, people describing her art as raw, powerful, and transformative. The words fill her with a quiet pride, but it's more than that, it's a sense of belonging. Near the end of the evening, she steps outside for a breath of fresh air. The city lights twinkle in the distance, and she feels a sense of calm she once thought was impossible. I sit on my balcony, watching the sunset paint the sky with hues of orange and pink. The days of bitterness and regret feel like a lifetime ago, replaced by a sense of gratitude for the life I've built. My phone buzzes with a text from Rachel, thinking of you. Can't wait for tomorrow. I smile, typing a quick reply. Our lives no longer intersect, but they run parallel, each of us finding our way in the aftermath of a shared history. Jenna has found herself in her art, her family, and the quiet strength she didn't know she possessed. I found a new chapter in Rachel, in the simplicity of a life unburdened by betrayal, and in the peace that comes with letting go. And though the paths we walk are separate, they both lead forward. Thank you for joining me on this journey of resilience, growth, and moving forward. Life is full of unexpected turns, and every story holds lessons worth reflecting on. What are your thoughts on this one? If you've faced similar challenges or moments of transformation, share your experience below. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow for more powerful tales. Your story matters too. Let's keep the conversation going.